Welcome back to Drive Your Journey. I'm with a great friend, Gerardo Barrios, the coach and founder of 40th Racing. We're talking about the Ironman race that you got me hooked to. And now there's 3 disciplines typically in an Ironman race: the swim, the bike, and the run. But I say there's 6. I want to break those down and let's talk about them. Let's talk about the swim. I hear all the time, I don't know how to swim. Most people know how to swim. They just have a lot of fears around it, don't they?
They do, and a lot of it comes down to the breathing. You know, when you put your face in the water, your breathing is not the same. So you have to come up for breath
It's one
of air.
those essentials.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you don't do the training, if you don't put in the distance, the mileage that you need to train, that's number one. You know, but if you're not in the water, you can't practice that. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things, you have to quiet your mind. You have to focus on something other than the fears that you have in the water. Mm-hmm. And by doing the practice on a regular basis in a consistent way, it's something you can do and practice and make sure that you can visualize what you want to feel, where you want to be. You know, what do you do if you do get hit in the water? What do you do if someone pulls you down, or you know, if your goggles get water inside? Mm-hmm. And you know, what do you do if you lose your cap, or the race doesn't allow you to wear a wetsuit, and then all of a sudden you don't have the extra buoyancy in the water? So you have to be ready for anything that comes your way.
Now I'm going to share this, and this is so important. If you're going to join and do a triathlon, I think it's so easy now to join a master swim club, or to find someone. Like we go Tuesday and Thursday mornings, and Coach will help us with swim. But it's just like-minded individuals there.
Yeah.
That you end up building a camaraderie, and they're all at different levels. In fact, I would say in the water most of the time, my first 3 years, I was one of the slower swimmers. And it's a matter of being a part of that team effort, right?
Correct. Yeah, and you know, it's an appointment with your teammates. You know, it's something you put in your calendar, and they expect you to be there. You expect them to be there, and you know, you help each other improve together. You know, along the way.
Yeah. And it's usually at 5, 6 in the morning, which means you're done. You go to work, and you started the day with a great swim. Let's talk about the second discipline, the bike. Oh man, so don't get in a car accident or a bike accident like I did, but the bike is something that you really have to work at, because it's the one area that can make or break your race, because you can pick up a lot of time, or you can get wiped out on the bike.
Yeah.
Not physically, but you know, physiologically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, people think that you get on the bike and you go as hard as you can, and again, you can't, because then you still have to run. So you need to make sure that you have the ability to do the distance and then get off that bike without wobbly legs and do your run, because that's where you make up a lot of the time. But the bike generally tends to be about 50% of the race. So you have to at least do 50% of your training on the bike in order to have a successful race.
Yeah, one of the things that it took me about 1.5 years to get was Coach kept saying, you need to get a trainer. I go, no, I have you as my trainer. No, you need to get a trainer. And a bike trainer, right?
Correct.
So
yeah.
Tell everybody how the bike trainer works and why it's such an important tool on you being able to coach someone to success.
So you know, we're not known for being a bike-friendly city, LA. So you have to get on your bike and you have to do the training. And the best way to do it is to get an indoor trainer where you hook up your bike and pedal away indoors without worrying about traffic, without worrying about weather. And you just get your workout done. And generally about a 60-minute workout would be the equivalent of 90 minutes to 2 hours that you would be on the road, stopping at lights, you know, worrying about being hit by a car or whatever. But that's the number one thing. But you still have to get out on the road. You still have to go out and do your long rides on your bike that you're going to race in.
Gerardo gets mad at me because sometimes I skip my weekend rides. I was in a terrible cycling accident, and psychologically it really did affect me. But let me just tell you that the one gain I got that was tremendous was riding on my trainer, because it's hooked to a computer and you can see exactly, you can track my performance.
Yes.
And I think that's critical, right?
Yeah, and you know, that helps you work on your muscle memory so that you can spin away and be able to gauge your effort. Again, we talked about intensity and duration on the bike, but that intensity on the bike is going to be the determinant of whether you're going to be able to run properly off the bike. You want to be able to have your legs fresh enough, but still go as hard as you can without blowing up. And so when you can measure that intensity in front of you for that workout, you're also going to get a better workout too, because it's a very specific training.
Yeah, very specific. Let's talk about the next discipline, the run. We laugh about that because I track every run, and Coach and I were meeting about next year, and he looked and he goes, well, you ran 4.4 miles on average last year. I think that included some of the races too.
Correct, yes.
So the run's really important because you know, that's the final leg of the race,
yeah,
if you will.
That's right, and you know that's what's gonna that's usually where people like, again, if your bike was not done properly, even if you're a great runner, you're gonna struggle. There's gonna be a lot of walking going on, and you can see it in an Ironman race. You know, those runners getting into the halfway point of the marathon at mile 13, they're already walking, they're already shuffling and trying to just survive the run. But you know, it's very important that you continue to do your run. And you know, I have, you know, one of our teammates. I gave him 6 runs on the schedule one week, and he's like, "Is this correct? This doesn't seem right." It's like, yeah, it's correct. You know, you want to build up your run, and you want to be able to do a little bit at a time before you start doing the longer distances. And so that's part of the strategy. Is like, how do you reach the athlete to make sure they're doing what they need in order to succeed in the event?
Yeah, and the runs aren't necessarily run 13 miles every day. I mean, you could give someone one day a 45-minute recovery. You could give them a 1-hour strides. Why is that?
Again, muscle memory. You know, your body has to be able to withstand the volume that you're putting on it. And if you go too high of an intensity for too often, then you're not going to be able to get to the race start healthy. And so you want to make sure that intensity is properly. It's like a prescription. You get the right dose and make sure that you take it at the right time.
Yeah, yeah. So let's talk about the 3 other disciplines. Food. People find it really interesting that I can be jogging and eating food. I could be riding my bike and eating food. I don't swim and eat food typically,
right.
But food's so critical. The nutrition.
Well, the nutrition, people get into the sport in the first place for the most part, most of the time, to lose weight. Yeah. And so the common idea is that if you exercise and you don't eat, you're going to lose that extra weight that you don't want. And that actually is the opposite. You actually need energy, and you want to train your body to metabolize and use what you have stored in your body to fuel you. So 2 different ways. If your intensity is too high, you're going to need sugars, so you need to eat. If your intensity is lower, then you can use the fat burning to take advantage of that. So it still has to be balanced. You still have to find the right combination, and you have to eat a lot more than you think.
Yeah. And you have to test it. Like when you're out on the road, if you test what you're eating, when you're running, and if you test what you're eating, it'll help you race day. And don't switch to, like, I bring my food on all my, I never understood that. Why would you bring your own food? I bring my own food way in the morning before a race,
yes.
But on the race, because I'm not training with what's on the course.
Correct. And then, what's on the course doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work for you. These are sponsors who are paying to have their food on the course so that you can buy it and train with it. Mm-hmm. So it's not the ideal thing. And everybody's body is different. So you might be able to take in some of those calories and flavors. And I learned the hard way that citric acid was not a good thing in my stomach. So when I looked at the labels, it wasn't something I wanted to be taking. So I had to depend on natural foods and not things that they put in the product.
One of the things that Gerardo taught me was, if it's got too many items in the label that you got to read, it's probably not good for you. The less, the better. Let's talk about the next system, the psychological part. I think this is the one area that I've really thrived at, is going through and with the emotions you're going to go through in a race to get through it.
So you have to, when you sign up for these races, you have to understand that the goals are just numbers. but it's the process that you have to embrace, and you have to be able to understand that you're going to go through some difficult times. That the training is not going to be perfect. You're going to need days off. You're going to have to take the dog to the vet. You're going to have to sleep in some days, but the training has to get done somehow, somewhere. So if you just do a little bit at a time and stay consistent, you're going to get to that start line stronger. And so that's really important.
Yeah, love that, love it. Last but not least, we only have a minute, is number 6 for me is scheduling it all around my daughter. My daughter's time. I think I'm doing 20 races this coming year. You and I sat down, 20 both Ironman, distance, bike races, and we had to schedule around when when the family functions.
Yes.
And I think that's one of the most important things people forget.
Yeah, and this is something that affects everybody, the family and whoever you're friends with, and that's why it becomes a lifestyle with your friends. Yeah. And so you can plan together, but that part where you have to plan with your family is even more important. And we have a calendar, a family calendar, and we put in our events or our workouts in the calendar to make sure that they know in advance that this is time is going to be for that. And so if you schedule it the same way you do doctor's appointments or whatever, then it's going to make a big difference so that you have that communication.
Love that. Those who want to reach out to you and coach with you?
Well, it's 40th Coaching and 40th Racing Team, and I'm in Sherman Oaks, and we have a team that's comprised of athletes all through California, and so we have a website, 40thcoaching.com, or Facebook, and you can reach us and find us on social media, Instagram and Facebook. All distances from sprint to Ironman in triathlon, and from 5K to ultra marathon 100-mile runs in running. Yep. And we have a great team of athletes that we work with and train together all through Southern California.
Yeah, and I'm one of them. I'm a testament to it. Thanks for coming in.
All right, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Well, I hope you enjoy this edition of Drive Your Journey. If you want to recommend a guest that can help others drive their journey, email me, Fred@fredarnold.com. Until we speak again, make it a great day.